Welcome to Currently Reading, where I share bits and pieces of prose and poetry on a daily basis. Enjoy! So, I'm reading some passages from Becoming Wild by Carl Safina, who does a lot of research, wildlife and nature research. This is very interesting. I love how he writes. So, the whole book is about how animals learn to be animals, which is really cool. So this part of the prologue, I'm going to read every line. A flock of scarlet macaws bursts from the deep rainforest, like flaming comets, several dozen big, bright birds, with streaming tails and hot colors. With much self-generated fanfare, they settle into high trees above a steep riverbank. They're noisy and playful. If this is the serious business of their lives, they seem to be enjoying themselves and each other. Even within the flock, it's easy to see that many travel as close together pairs. Following one such pair is a third bird, a hefty juvenile from last year's breeding season who is continually begging and bothering its parents. The other year-old macaws have learned a more dignified independence, if you'd call hanging upside down, fooling around, and flirting dignified, and have begun sorting themselves into their own young lives. A little chimpanzee rides on his mother's back to a waterhole. It's dry season, so only scattered shallow puddles remain. It's hot. Everyone has been in a distant fruit tree all morning, and after trekking through the thick forest, the whole group is keen with thirst. The mother searches out some moss, wads it into a kind of sponge, dips it into a tiny puddle, puts the wet sponge in her mouth, and presses out a drink. Her little prince hops off, taps her until she gives him the sponge, and does the same. After this crucial lesson about how to quench thirst in the dry season, he and his mother relax enough to find his friends and indulge in socializing. Meanwhile, in tropical water 2 miles deep, a defenseless infant sperm whale waits at the warm sunlit surface while her mother hunts squid in night-black frigid water thousands of feet below. Like a balloon on a string, the baby follows her unseen mother. She is hearing the clicks of mom's sonar. Nearby, the baby's aunt stands guard and waits her turn to dive and hunt. At the first signal of a threat to the baby, the whole family responds to the summons, rushing up from far beneath the indigo sea. So from now I'm going to skip some passages. Let's see. The stories in this book are about animal cultures. The natural does not always come naturally. Many animals must learn from their elders how to be who they were born to be. They must learn the local quirks, how to make a living, and how to communicate effectively in a particular place among their particular group. Cultural learning spreads skills such as what is food and how to get it, creates identity and a sense of belonging within a group and distinct form from other groups, and carries on traditions that are defining aspects of existence, such as what works as effective courtship in a particular region. If someone in your community has already figured out what's safe and what to avoid, sometimes it pays to do the done thing. If you go it alone, you might learn the hard way what is poisonous and where it is dangerous. It's highly practical for members of a species to rely on social learning to get them the tried and true. Until now, culture has remained a largely hidden, unappreciated layer of wild lives. Yet for many species, culture is both crucial and fragile. Long before a population declines to numbers low enough to seem threatened with extinction, their special cultural knowledge, earned and passed down over long generations, may begin disappearing. This book is also about where culture has led life, capital L, meaning all of life on Earth writ large. Very cool. I'm gonna skip that and move to here. We become who we are not by genes alone. Culture is also a form of inheritance. Culture stores important information not in gene pools but in minds. Pools of knowledge, skills, preferences, songs, tool use, and dialects get relayed through generations like a torch. And culture itself changes and evolves, often bestowing adaptability, more flexibility, and rapidly than genetic evolution could. An individual receives genes only from their parents, but can receive culture from anyone and everyone in their social group. You're not born with culture. That's the difference. And because culture improves survival, culture can lead where genes must follow and adapt. Throughout animal life on Earth, the tapestry of genes is overlaid with more learned knowledge and information than humans have realized. Social learning goes on all around us, but it's subtle. You have to look carefully and for a long time. This book is a look. Let's move. Learning how to live from others is human, but learning from others is also raven, ape and whale, parrot, even honeybee. Assuming that other animals don't have culture because they don't have human culture is like thinking that other creatures don't communicate because they don't have human communication. They have their communication and they have their cultures. I'm not saying that life feels the same to them as it feels to you. No one's life does. I'm saying that instinct goes only so far. Many animals must learn almost everything about how to become who they will be. Well, I'm going to skip now. Well, actually, before I do, let me show you what's inside. Someone started playing piano in the bookstore where I am. And so basically, talking about three different things here about raising families, about appreciating, creating beauty, and achieving peace through the lens of three different animals. And not going to go through the whole book, but I will read a little bit from the epilogue. Here goes. A sperm whale learns who she will be journeying with. A macaw casts a covetous eye on a beautiful neighbor. A chimpanzee learns to play. Culture creates vast stores of unprogrammed, unplanned knowledge. The whole world speaks, sings, and shares the codes. Life is our tiny part of the universe, taking charge of directing its own destiny, and life has, in the most real ways, chosen random acts of beauty. Not all life, not all the time, but over time, over the hundreds of millions of years of this wondrous journey, this has been a trend. Life has created a perceptual capacity that is felt as beauty, and then has sought more and more of what is beautiful. Life prefers what is lovely and sees as lovely what it prefers. Life has chosen to see itself and our fleck of the sky as beautiful. There you go. It talks a little bit about the little blue macaw called Sphex macaw, which has been declared extinct, trying to revive that. And now I'm going to read the rest of the epilogue. Beings who have succeeded on Earth for millions of years don't seek and should not require our approval. They belong as well as we do. We do ourselves no favors by asking whether their existence is worth our while. We are hardly in a position to judge, hurtling and lurching along as we are with no goal, no plan except bigger, faster, more. If we had the courage to be honest about it, we would have to admit that whales and birds and apes and all the rest live fully up to everything of which they are capable, and we regrettably fall short of doing that. For them to be is enough. For us, in the isolating alienation of our tidal retreat from life, nothing is enough. And then there's some questions here which I will let you discover, but you can also pause this video and read for yourself. Now I'm reading the rest of the passage. It used to be that animals did not need us. Now they do. Unless we value their existence, the modern tide will engulf and obliterate them. Might we connect? No religion has ever preached that our role is to leave less for those who come after us. No wisdom tradition grants a generation permission to deplete the world and drive it toward ruin. We are taught instead that we must pilot the ark to safety. We must help them outlast the crisis of our time. We can never save the world, though we can spoil it. Life is a relay race. Our task merely to pass the torch, along with a world that is at least as alive as the one we inherited, and perhaps a bit better. And from here, upon our rocky life raft in space, living things anchor what is beautiful. As they dwindle, the beautiful drains away. As animals and plants lose their grip on existence, we lose the beauty of our own. Beauty is a simple crib note for all that matters. A thing is right when it adds or aids what is beautiful. Parks and refuges, necessary now but not sufficient, are merely the flip side of widespread demolition. They are like preserving Mona Lisa's eyes while pulping the rest of Da Vinci's masterpiece for its fibers, then congratulating ourselves for our foresight. My gosh, that's rough. Alright, there can be no substitute for expanding the true, deep, broad coexistence that is required. Averting the demise and further degradation of beauty is crucial for human dignity, for human sanity. And the book leaves us with the questions: can we evolve a culture for a beautiful future on Earth? Only humans can ask the question. Only humans need to.